Hi, it's Liz from Heal at Home Pet Care, and welcome to the Pet Chat. This morning, I was going to talk a little bit more in general because the questions I've been getting all kind of fall along the same lines of, is it okay to use this supplement? I told my vet I was using this and they recommended this. So I just want to talk a little bit in general about supplements, maybe veterinarian recommendations versus what's out there, which is a little bit different. And we'll go from there. So I wanted to bring up a few studies that I had been seeing. One is scientists identify nutrient that helps prevent bacterial infection. So taurine, which helps the body digest fats, oils, could offer treatment benefit. So basically, these scientists found that taurine helps the body digest fats and oils and is found naturally in bile acids in the gut. So taurine is found in food, things like milk, dairy, meats, organ meat. So if your pet is getting a freeze-dried, frozen, or a raw food, they're getting taurine in it from a natural source. Most commercial pet foods now do offer taurine it's in the mix. There was a controversy many years ago, I think in the 70s, with pets that were deficient in taurine developing heart disease. And they're finding that pet foods back in the day were deficient in taurine. It's getting cooked out of the food from the high heat processing. So that usually is added back into foods now, commercially cooked, dry, kibble kinds of foods. But if you're feeding your pet like a natural diet or giving them just a little bit of a freeze-dried kind of commercial diet that you're adding to their food, they're probably getting taurine in it already. But it's a natural food and it's proving to be beneficial against pathogens. Its actions actually creates a poisonous gas, hydrogen sulfide, which is a byproduct of taurine. And then it makes it so that pathogens cannot colonize in the gut. So our gut health and our pets' gut health is so important. There's another study that I was looking at about milk and how milk prebiotics are the cat's meow. And basically the University of Illinois College was talking about how oligosaccharides in human baby milk, and then they were comparing dog and cat milk, how they were all different and how beneficial they are to the start of life and how they really give an individual a really good start to life if they're getting those oligosaccharides from their parents. So this was the only study done in domestic dogs and cats. And let's see. It basically showed how the species-specific milk met the nutritional needs of each species for newborn kittens and puppies. And basically how different cat milk is to dog milk, which is different than human milk, which is different than cow milk. So the body's like an incredible thing where each species it knows how to provide for what is needed for optimum health. Unfortunately, a lot of our pets, we do not get them when they're newborn. We don't know what their history is. We don't know if they got that initial colostrum and milk from their parents. We don't know what the parent's condition was at the time. So these are all factors that I think start, I get a lot of questions about what caused this problem in my pet, whether it's allergies, kidney disease, cancer, all of those things, like what caused it? And there is no cause. And these studies are showing that from the very beginning of life and even before life, because the parents are actually sending on some genetic codes and some genetic history to their offspring. And then starting with the milk that they start taking in, it's all important. So from the, if you're just focused on the diet that they're eating now, that's one very small part of your pet's health. There's environmental considerations, there's behavioral considerations, there's social interactions, there is just overall well-being of how content they are in their lives. Is there a high stress level? Are they getting enough exercise and human contact and other pet contacts and socialization? So there's a whole web of things that is important. And then, so leading to that, you're talking about supplements and things, you could probably supplement your pet all you want, but if they're starting out, and they're already healthy, some individuals will respond really well to certain supplements. And I feel like some pets are over supplemented to a point where they have so many supplements on board, you don't even know what's doing what anymore. And you can start taking them away one by one and probably see maybe no effect, or maybe that supplement has done its job. Maybe you gave a supplement for 3 months or a year or 2 years, and maybe it's already triggered the body to respond in a way where it's actually been boosted and it doesn't need help anymore. So these are all things to think about when you're looking at supplements. And I just wanted to read from this book. This is a book I just started reading. It's kind of a lengthy book. It's called Feeding Dogs. That looks backwards. By Dr. Connor Brady. I think he's an Australian veterinarian. This whole book is filled with research and is very well documented with where he's getting his research from. It's all about feeding dogs. Doesn't really relate to cats, but the same principles probably apply. But he says here that while veterinary diets often claim to have optimal nutrition, quality, and higher digestibility, there are no set principles by which products can earn the loftier title. In fact, in this study, set out to explore if there are any differences whatsoever between the nutritional digestibility of both lower, cheapest, or higher quality, more expensive commercial dry foods sold by vets. They found no difference in the dietary level of nutrients, nor did they find any difference in digestibility of those nutrients between the types. Furthermore, the protein and amino acid content and digestibility were similar between the two types. There were no discernible differences between them whatsoever. This suggests that the only real difference between lower and higher quality dry foods is the price tag and marketing budgets. And what I would argue is the veterinary's stamp of approval. So a lot of people, if their veterinarian says, here, feed this food, people will give it. So every time I see someone whose dog is diagnosed with some kind of kidney issue, they come home with a bag of KD, which is kidney diet sold by Hills, or there are other types of kidney diets. And the pets never want to eat them. They don't taste good. They just don't have a palatability that tastes good to them. They just don't eat them. And it's a very expensive food. And they wind up donating the food back to me, which I have really nowhere to give it to because nobody ever wants to eat it. And what I usually recommend to people when they have any kind of recommendation by their vet for certain foods, by a commercial food brand, is to just stick with what you're feeding your pet. Even if it's a supposedly lower quality commercial food, it's most important that your pet is eating something that they enjoy eating. If you want to make certain little tweaks to it, I have a bunch of videos of things that you can do by adding Oregon meat. You can add canned chicken in water. You can add canned sardines in water. You can add some pumpkin. You can add blueberries. You can add a little bit of yogurt. There are all these things that you can do to up-level your pet's current diet without changing the diet completely. There are some commercial foods that are, I feel, a little bit better quality because of the ingredients and the minimized processing. Basically, the higher heat processing of a food, like kibble, the lesser the quality of ingredients, because everything's going to be cooked out of it nutrient wise, and they're going to have to add it back in as a supplement or vitamin. So things like the freeze-dried foods that are available now usually still contain the same nutrients that that raw food would have contained otherwise. That may be another option. You can kind of add that into your pet's diet a little bit. Home cooking is certainly an option. And I think, we're all scared of changing our pet's diet, especially if they've been on a certain specific diet for a very long time. A really good case of this is dogs with IBD or cats with IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease, inflammatory bowel syndrome. If they've been on a specific diet their whole lives, it's very scary to change them. And there may be no need to change them, really. It's not fun to have a pet with inflammatory intestinal issues because they have chronic diarrhea, chronic eating issues, vomiting issues. It's not a healthy state to be in, but you can start adding some little things in and see how they do with it. There's no harm in adding fresh foods to your pet's diet. But back to the supplements. So I, in the past 2 weeks, have heard multiple people tell me that their vets I give them a suggestion for adding fish oil, and I give them a few different suggestions, and then tell them, if you already take a fish oil supplement, an omega-3 fish oil, you can use that one for your pet, as long as it's just the fish oil, no other essential oils or anything added into it. And we'll just figure out a dose. But usually when you say that to your veterinarian, they give you a little bit of a stare and say, well, I don't really know that product. Here, use this Well-Actin. That's one by a company called Nutramax. And the reason why veterinarians feel comfortable with that is because it's a company that markets specifically to veterinarians. So they feel comfortable because this company has marketed straight to them. Another really good example are pet foods. Purina is a very big pet company, and they have an okay average quality foods. I have pets that I fed Purina dry kibble to their whole lives. They live to be 17, 16 years old, which isn't young. It's not the oldest, but it's not young. And they lived okay lives, and, but maybe developed diabetes or cognitive dysfunction at the end of their lives, or something where I kind of questioned, if I had fed them a little bit better, would this have been the same outcome? But they were meeting all their nutritional requirements. They always liked eating the food. It wasn't a problem. My pets now, since I've been learning about this more over the past 7, 8, 9 years, and I've been experimenting and I feel comfortable, they don't eat things like that anymore. So I also know from being in the industry, Purina directly markets to veterinarians, giving veterinarians and their staff discounts or even free food for their own pets. That is huge to me. Whether it's a good food or not, they are marketing straight to vets, and then vets are then turning around to you and saying, here, use this food. And I don't feel like that's okay. The vets should really be like, I don't know a lot about food or nutrition, what's working. Maybe they should try to take a little bit of time to research it themselves, but it is a very big area. You can see this book is a lot. It would take a lot. Veterinarians have their certain training for medicine. So, maybe they should just stay away from that question. But when they're marketed to you from a specific company, whether it's for supplements or for food or CBD, that's a new one. There's a CBD that every veterinarian will recommend, even though they have no experience with different CBDs. They might not even be well versed in CBDs, but there's one that Cornell University has backed, and that's the only one they recommend. And if you mention any other kind of CBD product, they will just look at you like, no, I don't recommend it. Use this one. And then if you ask them further why, they don't know. They haven't used it. They might not know a lot about it, but this company has marketed straight to them. So be aware when using supplements, where the source is coming from. Do your own research because you have the time. Your veterinarian does not have time to research every single product that every one of their clients brings to them. So some veterinarians will have a line of products that they feel comfortable with, and that's okay. And they can tell you they have, this is their experience with it. But that's not to say that there aren't other products out there that are just as good. The other part of this is going on Facebook and finding a group with, these groups that will give recommendations out to people come on of what they are using and what their recommendations are for things. And I find this to also be like buyer beware, or, just beware of this information, because some of it is useful. And what you should always do is go and research that product or that supplement yourself and realize that it might not apply directly to your pet. A really good example is a diabetic dog, and there would be a diabetic dog Facebook group with everyone in there. Nobody is in the medical field. Some of them may have a certificate for some kind of online nutritional training, which is not an education in nutrition. I know what the certification is. It's a quick little online thing that they can do through a food company so that they will promote that food company. But it's information, but just it's not everything. If I've seen pets that have diabetes where it's also complicated by pancreatitis, maybe by Cushing's disease, and you can't just take their recommendations straightforward. They also recommend some products for like testing blood glucose that are not really well proven yet. It might be cheaper and easier to use, but those things really matter. If you have a blood glucose meter that is one brand that has been used for over 20, 25 years, and it is calibrated for the species of pet, then you have this other brand that is kind of new and cheaper and comes from who knows where and who knows how it's calibrated. Those differences can be a huge difference. in the readings of those meters, and then how much insulin you're going to give your pet. So I've seen a lot of these things which are not helpful. So going back to the tried and true and what is truly been used and truly been researched properly, and what is right for your pet. So I hope that all makes sense. But those are the questions I've been getting in recently, a lot of supplement questions. I think we all go on social media and we're all online and we all get newsletters on our inbox and we get an influx of all of these things that are available. It gets a little overwhelming. And so number one, I would just see, does your pet really need it? Is this something that you can supplement easily in the diet by adding some kind of fresh food, some kind of organ meat, a little bit of freeze-dried food without having to change your pet's food too much? If your pet does need a supplement, how long do they need it for? So do like an on and off kind of thing where you give it for a little bit, maybe try it for 4 weeks, maybe cut back on it and see if maybe that did the trick. Maybe their body kind of set themselves up okay for it and they don't need it anymore. Or maybe they need it seasonally or every once in a while if they have a flare up. And then when your vet kind of recommends a product, kind of just in the back of your head, just see where that's coming from and maybe ask a few more questions of what their experience is with this product, how they've heard about it, if they've used it themselves, and what they would expect to see, what kind of difference they would expect to see with your pet. So I hope that helps for this week. And if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, have a good week. Bye-bye.